When Clayton Christensen first wrote The Innovator's Dilemma, in which he described this disruptive innovation concept, it was new back then. I mean, he was studying this when he was finishing his PhD at Harvard in the late 80s, I believe. And he published in the early 90s. And it was the idea that disruption was something that could surprise you was a pretty new thing. He had to find case studies over decades of industries that were disrupted by a rising technology which slowly took over. He did hydraulic shovels compared to steam shovels. That was the case study in his original book. By the time you get to the late 90s, Intel is calling him and saying, this is going to happen to us. The early 2000s, Sony is calling him and saying, this is happening to us. And it's happening faster, and it's happening with more potent force than anyone had ever seen before. So in 1990, if you said, I've got a business, it's doing well, I don't really need to change it much, you were probably right for at least another half decade to decade. Since then, you have never been able to rest. The disruption that's happening is continuous. And the challenge that occurs when people see these disruption moments is they can either go into defense mode or they can go into attack. And I don't mean attack the thing, I mean attack the future. And defense mode is the normal response. It is the human response. We have, of all of the things in human psychology research that have proven to be maybe less reliable than we originally thought when their studies first came out, one thing has been reliably validated study after study for decades, and that's loss aversion. Humans have a tendency to overestimate future losses and underestimate future gains. And when you're trying to make a decision about, should I use this new technology? Should I marry this person? Should I take this risky move to go to California for 3 years? Or whatever it is, your brain will naturally prefer to count the cost rather than to weigh the opportunity. Now, some of us are personality-wise a little bit odd. We flip that. We overestimate the possible success and downplay. But most of us prefer to overestimate risk and cost. So when you have a new technology come along, it's very, very easy to see we can't do that. It's going to cost too much. It's not going to work in the first generation anyway. It's going to be a big problem. And that is what we have seen over and over and over, even as the rate at which innovations successfully disrupt industries, that rate has continued to climb. We've seen that over and over and over in our lifespan. And yet the people making the decisions continue to respond as if they're working with the brains they inherited, which we all did, as if it's 1980, 1950. No, I just stay at the helm of my ship. I keep steering it the way I learned my whole career as a leader or an executive, and we're going to be just fine as you plow, right on into an ocean that's changed completely, full of icebergs, whatever metaphor you want to use.